What is up, everybody? Josh Tapp here again, and welcome back to the Lucky Titan podcast. And today we're here with Dr. Kelly Henry. This guy has such an awesome story. I mean, he's one of those guys that I hope more people will emulate because he built over 20 years. He built a very, very successful, one of the top chiropractic clinics in the US. And that's pretty hard to do, especially nowadays where there's so many people pursuing that and opening their own clinics. But from that, he decided to retire into coaching, this is one of the big reasons why I wanted to bring him on, because I see so many people who create these amazing businesses, really get some great experience, and then they retire to the Bahamas or something, and we lose all of that knowledge. So I'm really excited that Kelly decided to come in and say, I'm going to come and teach people how to do what I do. So Kelly, say what's up, and then we'll move on from there, man.
Hello, Josh. I really appreciate you letting me be on the show. I'm excited.
Yeah, it's going to be a blast. So my very first question for you is what made you decide to transition from chiropractic to actually coaching? I think that's an interesting story.
Yeah, and I get this question a lot. Some people think I'm crazy because I did have a couple of very successful clinics. And what are you doing? You know, why would you get rid of that, so to speak? I had the opportunity to buy out a couple of clinics from retired chiropractors, and they really had nothing left for me to buy out. So it was good for me at the time, obviously not so great for them because I was buying them out on pennies on the dollar. But I made a mental note that I was not going to let my clinic get to that point where I'd passed my prime and really had nothing left to try to sell and basically fund my retirement. That was not going to happen. And so in 2017, it just really felt like I was led to go ahead and sell my clinics and my practices. Part of the reason was I ran a very high volume practice, and I personally was treating 350 to 400 patients a week. And it was starting to take its toll on my body and arms. And so I was feeling the effects there. So I didn't want to, deteriorate any further. I was taking care of myself, but still there's only so much you can do. And when you're adjusting and pounding on patients all the time. One of the other reasons I wanted to sell out is the geography of where I practiced down in the southeast corner of New Mexico, great place to raise a family. It was very pro chiropractic. And again, I was able to grow my practices to a very substantial level, but it was hard for me to get associate doctors and attract employees basically into that area. There wasn't that many from that area that could want to come back. And if they were from that area, they didn't want to come back. They wanted to stay in the more metropolitan areas. So, and I, for one, I didn't want to retire there. I live in the Dallas-Fort Worth area now, and I wanted to move back. So that was part of the reasoning as well. So a lot of factors there, but that's the main reason that I pivoted from owning clinics to coaching and consulting with business owners now.
See, and I love that transition. And what's really funny to me, you're preaching to the choir. I live in Idaho, right? Everybody knows this. It's hard to attract talent to smaller areas. I mean, when somebody's like, come work for me. I'm in this really tiny podunk town in Idaho. They're like, wait, what? Why would I go there? I could go to Texas, or I could go to Dallas, which is where Kelly's at now. I mean, there's hubs where people want to go. So I know the pain. That's why we have a lot of people work remotely for us. So
absolutely. I didn't have that option in the chiropractic realm. So
right.
Hard to give a remote adjustment.
Crack somebody's back. Well, I am excited to have you here to talk about really your framework today, Kelly, because what initially attracted me to what you're teaching, and I hope our audience pays attention to this, is he's here and he's really teaching people how to just make a little tweak that can really increase the bottom line of your business and the top line. This is one of the big problems that people have in our space, in the online space, is they try to figure out new business opportunities. But for most of you who are stuck where you're either at 6 or 7 figures, you've plateaued. All you need is slight incremental changes to increase your income by like $20,000 or $100,000 per year with just little adjustments. And that's one of the things that Kelly's here to talk about. And I am excited to delve into that because it's the non-sexy customer service business. But as we were talking about, this is one of the easiest things to change if you're a good human being. So Kelly, let's talk through kind of your methodology and your framework for helping people to make those incremental changes.
And I love that you use the term, it's not sexy because yeah, I get that all the time, oh yeah, that's a great idea, but I don't need that, or whatever the case may be. Yeah, well, customer service may not be sexy, but it's incredibly powerful. And some of the biggest businesses in the world today were based on providing stellar customer service. Amazon, Southwest Airlines, Disney, Apple, they were all based on great customer service. So I can spew all the words about customer service. You don't have to take my word for it. Just look at some of these industries, and if you have aspirations, maybe you should take a note from them. So, basically, the idea behind what I teach, what I coach businesses to do is, yes, we want to provide great customer service, but we're doing that just to increase customer retention. That is the key. Businesses get stuck. Well, the purpose of a business is to get paid or get customers, keep customers, make a profit. Very simplistically. Well, so many businesses get stuck in, let's just get customers, don't function, don't worry about, don't do so much on the keeping the customers, and then make the profit. But the growth and exponential profits and growth come from keeping customers in your business, keeping those repeat buyers. And so that's what my programs are all about, is helping to just increase that retention rate. There's a study from Harvard Business School. And what they found out is if a business will increase their retention rate by a measly 5%, just 5% increase, it can lead to a 25 to 95% increase in profits. So that is my goal. That's what my system is all about, is to help to raise up that retention rate just by a measly 5%. And it's always more than that, to, again, drive that profit and growth up exponentially.
Yeah. And I love that. I never knew that, honestly, a 5% retention. I'm totally going to use that. I'll quote you twice and then use it. Right. So my question with that too is, and I hope people understood that, right? 5% retention, so retaining 5% of your customers can result in 25% to a 95% is what you said?
Yes.
Increase in profit. Like that's big numbers for most people. And I don't think they realize how simple it is to retain that 5%. It kind of makes it less daunting as the business, right?
Exactly. And it's, again, we're focused on sales and making the next transaction and not doing what we need to create loyalty and relationships, which is the key to keeping people in your business. And that's where really more of the focus may be, or not maybe, where it needs to be. Where businesses get tripped up is when they're selling and making those transactions. Again, they lose that sight of keeping those customers. But it is so much easier to sell to a current customer.
Yeah.
It's really, a current customer will continue to buy at about a 60 to 70% rate, as opposed to a 5 to 20% rate with a new customer. When you keep a current customer, they are going to, not always, but more likely, they're going to refer, friends and family, because they want to have those people they know experience how they feel by doing business with you. So when they're your referral source, when they are speaking about your business and really becoming your marketing piece, well, then you don't have to do as much external marketing, and that money goes back to your bottom line. So that's where it can really drive up that profit margin. When you're keeping those customers are referring, hey, they became my marketing piece. In fact, a lot of people say, great customer service is the new marketing. When your customers are the referral source, your marketing source, that really is a beautiful thing for a business.
Yeah. And I love that. I mean, I heard a quote, I heard it from Russell Brunson. I can't remember where he got it, but I loved it. He said, if you can get somebody to spend, or the distance between $0 to $1 is 90% of the journey, but from 1 to a million is literally only 10%. It's so much easier to get people to actually spend more money when they've committed $1. There's something weird in like the human psychology. When they've given you money, they're like, I'm trusting you.
Yeah.
Don't let me down. So I want to ask you about this, because as a
that resistant.
Yeah, right. Well, and as a chiropractor, this is one of the funny parts, because I don't think people know this. I actually worked for a chiropractor for a couple of years while I was in college to keep myself alive while we were building our business as well. And he had the same kind of methodology that you do, but the number one problem that we saw that was really funny, as I watched the other chiropractors in his office who were doing it wrong, they would say, well, once you start chiropractic, once we've cracked your back, you're going to have to crack it every month for the rest of your life. And that sat really wrong with me, because I'm like, I've watched this other chiropractor, he fixes their problem and then they can leave. So how do you solve retention in a business that should be one-off?
Well, it's all about communication, and the benefits for the customer, the patient. So going back to the chiropractic realm, I did communicate that, let's say patient comes in with low back pain and they've had it for a while and we cleared it up and they feel better. Well, my communication to them is your body is still going to be under stress for the rest of your life. And so we want to stay a step ahead of that stress. And so it'll take occasional adjustments because that stress will just build up and we don't want you to end up back like you were. So that would be the key to them continuing to maintain. It's not because, well, you got to do it with no explanation. It's them to understand. So in the business realm, same thing. Hey, here's what's going on. Here's what you need to do as far as building that retention. And you got to keep communicating it so it's in real terms and real benefits for the customer, for them to continue to work and stay with you for a long period of time.
Yeah, I love that. And what's interesting is the way that you articulated that is you can be a one-off business, but instead of saying we're just going to sell you more of the same, you're like, let's create a whole new program, which is basically like, let's keep you healthy. It's a maintenance program.
Exactly.
And I don't think people think about that a lot in the business space, because we're like, okay, how quickly can I get to a retainer type business model with what I'm doing? And a lot of times it's not exactly what you're doing. It's like, fix their problem. What's the next problem that presents itself? So usually just continuing on in accountability and little issues that come up. So we resolve that with group coaching personally, but so I love that you promote that as far as with retention. So I want to ask you this as well. When you're trying to keep people in your business, what are some of your other kind of core methodologies that you use to keep them coming back?
Well, let's circle clear back to customer service. So I don't care what product you have, what service you provide. If that customer does not feel valued in and around your business, then you can communicate the importance of coming back and maintenance and the things we just talked about. They won't, because they don't feel like they are important. They feel like they're a number and they feel like they are just a transaction to you. So that is obviously the key concept there. If you're not valuing them, making a customer feel like they're special, important, like a rock star is often the term I use. If they don't feel like a rock star each and every time they are interacting with your business, with each and every employee, then they're going to have wandering eyes and more than likely go to your competition. So that is the key component for them to continue to come back. Now, when you throw a great service on top of that with a great product and you communicate correctly that, hey, you're still going to have business problems. So that's why, we need to keep moving forward after we solve the initial problem. Or, hey, the potential is you're going to still have health problems. So we want to stay ahead of those health problems because stress and life are never ending. Then they're going to be more apt to listen to you. They're going to be, realize that you're doing that in their best interest, not in your business's best interest to make another transaction. Then that you're creating those bonds, you're creating that loyalty, and that's where those customers just continue to follow along with what you have to offer.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, what he just said, I hope everybody pays attention to, and I'm going to loop clear back to the beginning of the conversation. You were talking about a 5% retention increase is going to increase your revenues like crazy. What you just explained there could literally be 1% to 5% right there. Like,
Absolutely.
just help them be the hero. So how are some of the ways, what are some of the ways that you have helped them become the hero, or like you said, kind of have an amazing experience in your own business?
Well, again, it's just having that philosophy of serving. So, the common phrasing for customer service is creating a customer experience. Customer experience, chief customer experience officer, those type of things. And I have nothing wrong with that. I'm not pointing fingers at that, but what that experience boils down to is how you're serving the customer to create the great experience. So that's why I tend to say customer service, which seems old school, but the philosophy is serving. So one of the mission statement I had in my clinics, my mission statement for my coaching now, and what I recommend my clients take hold of as their service mission statement is, let's be the best part of the customer's day, the patient's day, the client's day. That's our objective. We're going to be the best part of their day. And to me, that just encompasses all that is basically good about customer service. So if you're trying to be the best part of the day, you're going to try to make them feel valued. You're going to listen to them. You're going to make eye contact. You're going to smile. You're going to do the little things that matter, as far as perception and driving a perception of great customer service. So that's one of the tweaks that you can make. It's just simply having that philosophy, that mission statement. Try to be the best part of the day. My coaching, my consulting, the way I function is just in simplicity. So to me, it's just doing the little things consistently. That's the key. You got to do them consistently. But when you do the little things consistently, that is going to make a world of difference in just the simple tweaks that change the perception for the customer as far as, hey, they really are here for me. So one of the simplest things a business can do is just put a smile on your face. Have all the employees remember to put on a smile. I used to say, and actually I learned this from one of my customer service gurus, is a smile should be part of a uniform. But a smile is the universal welcome. It puts people at ease. It makes them feel like you're valuing them, that you are important to them. So something as simple as a smile can have a tremendous effect. One other small little tweak is, I call it using your manners, but basically it's just using 3 phrases regularly in every form of communication. Please, thank you, and you're welcome. Whether it's face-to-face, whether you're on the phone, email is very important. And where a lot of business misses this because of technology is in texting. We get reminders and we get, text messages for offers and different things like that. Well, just add a hello and a thank you and a you're welcome, or just those niceties, if you will. Again, those show respect. It adds value to the person you're communicating with. Simple thing, but it can have a dramatic effect on the perception of the person receiving the text or the communication.
See, and I love that. And one of the things I want to highlight there for everybody is to try to be the best part of their day. I mean, if that's your end goal, you're always going to win. And that's what's so cool. I love that. That's going to be my quote. Maybe I'll make that the podcast title. It kind of brought back a thought of, I have a friend who, he's actually going to dental school, but he always did this thing. I met him when I was like 21. I brought him, he was a friend of mine. We were hanging out at my parents' house at the time we came home from college. And I just noticed, it was the first time I'd ever noticed it, but every time somebody did anything or he had an interaction, he'd say, thank you so much. He wouldn't even just say, hey, thank you. It'd be, thank you so much. And I was like, you could just see people beam when he said it, because it showed he truly was like grateful for it instead of, hey, thanks. Thank you. And I've implemented that in what we do. And I've seen a huge change for us when I just say, thank you so much, because it shows genuine, like, I am grateful for you.
It does. So, it almost seemed stupidly ridiculous,
right?
But it's not. It is powerful. Right. And again, it's just the little things when you do them consistently that are going to drive this perception and make a world of difference.
Yeah. Well, tracking, it's one of the hard parts too. I think a lot of people are like, okay, well, I'll tell my employees to do that. But like, how would you recommend that they like track these sort of things so they can make sure that they're happening?
Well, surveying is key a lot of times to tracking the overall customer experience. One of the things, and it's not so much along the way of tracking, but from an employer standpoint, to help your employees provide better customer service, is how do you treat your employees? And this is a core piece of my coaching program, because if you don't treat your employees as good, really you should treat them better than what you would expect them to treat the customers. If your employees don't feel valued, if they're not feeling important, if they don't feel special, if they don't feel like they're part of a team that has a bigger purpose, if then it's ridiculous to think that they would turn around and be able to provide the kind of service that you made or are expecting them to provide. So again, that's not necessarily tracking it, but that promotes it tremendously. When you are treating your employees as good, if not better than your customers, they are more than likely going to turn around and treat the customers really, really well.
I love this. I honestly, for our employees, that's been one of the things. We had a guy we hired out of the Philippines for a while, and I thought it was so funny. He would always say, "Yes, boss. Yes, boss. Yes, boss." He said it to me every time, and it was actually really annoying to me at first because I was like, it's a cultural thing, and I was grateful that he was trying to be respectful, but it annoyed me because with my employees, our goal is to be like, we're a team. I'm not your boss. Like, we're here to work together, right? I'm just coordinating our efforts so we all make money. And when we started treating people that way, it's been really a great experience as we've worked with them. We've seen the experience of our customers improve because of that. And unfortunately, this guy, I loved working. He was a great guy, but we realized he didn't fit our culture because of the way he spoke. Like, he was being too respectful because our culture was, we're all friends here. We're a team. We're working together. And his was like, I'm your subordinate. I don't even see my employees that way. So I love that that's your methodology and working directly with people. So to wrap this all up, I kind of want to put this all with a nice bow because you've really this is one of the things I love about you. You've simplified it. Start by having everybody on your team smile and treat your employees correctly, and you're going to see an increase. But that's just like one of your tactics. And so I hope people will go and check out. He has a book, he has a group coaching program, a coaching program to help you to work through this and get to that 5% increase. So can you tell us a little bit about how to connect with you and about your book, if that's okay?
Absolutely. I want to touch just a little more on my program, just real quick.
Let's do it.
The basis of the program too is not to do everything you can possibly do in the customer service realm. Basically, through my research and my study through the years, I've just narrowed it down to being really good. So it's the 80-20 rule. So we're going to be really good at the 20% of things that really customers want and expect in great customer service from a business that will create that 80% of the impact on them and on your business. So we've already talked about that 5% bump and the increase in revenue and profits. That's the goal. So it's just putting the different layers in and being really good at a few things that are really going to have the greatest impact on the customer, the patient, the client. So I just want to clarify that. So
I do appreciate it. That's awesome.
Absolutely. Now to my book, it's entitled Define and Deliver Exceptional Customer Service. And like you just mentioned a moment ago, kind of making things very simplistic. That's just how I live. That's how I practice chiropractic. That's how I focus on things. That's how I coach now. So the book is certainly like that too. It's not full of fluff. It's only about 150 pages long, but it's just full of basically simple, easy principles, rules, and then the actions that a business owner could read and take and implement almost immediately and start having an immediate effect and improvement in their customer service for their business. So it's simple read. I don't like reading those 300-page books that should be 100 pages. This book is, you can get through in a couple of sittings, maybe 3 sittings, take some notes, get some great ideas, and then be able to implement them immediately.
Love that. So everybody, make sure you check that out. We'll put a link in the description to that as well. And also they can check you out at drkellyhenry.com. Is that correct?
That is correct. And my book, you can find the book on the website. You can also really pick up the book anywhere you buy books, certainly Amazon. There is a paperback copy, a digital copy. And for those of you that like to listen to audiobooks, there is an audible version. So
did you read that yourself? I'm curious. Some people do and some people don't.
I did not, but I should have. So my next book, which is actually in the works, I will be the one to read that version.
I've always been curious how hard that would be, but it's because a lot of times people just pay somebody to do it, which I think is totally fine too. Anyways, total side note, but that's really awesome. So go check that out, everybody. Make sure that you go to drkellyhenry.com. If you want to connect with him in any other way, just go to his website and we'll add all of his links in the show notes as well. So Kelly, one thing before we sign off, I have one final question.
All right.
Because we have covered a lot of different topics. So what would be your final parting piece of guidance for our audience today?
Well, can I give you two? I talk about making things simplistic, and then I still have to give two things. But they go hand in hand. So first thing is every business, I don't care if you're a chiropractor, I don't care if you are online, I don't care if you are an insurance agent, sell shoes, grocery store, restaurant, you name it. You have to realize that you are in the customer perception business. It doesn't matter what you are selling, what service you provide, you are creating some kind of perception for your customer, particularly in the customer service realm. So there's no neutral to it. Either you're provided a great perception where they would want to come back and continue to do business with you, or you're creating a perception where it's not so good for the customer, and they're like, I'd probably just go to their competitor because this wasn't the greatest. So you got to keep that in mind. You are creating some kind of perception, good or bad, with every interaction you have with your customer. Now, the perception that you are creating is driven by how you make the customer feel. So when you make the customer feel like they are a person, they're valuable, they're important, special, like a rock star, like I mentioned earlier, when you're doing that, obviously you're going to drive the perception that you're there for your customer, you're there to serve them, and you're creating that better perception. So again, you're in the customer perception business, and that perception is driven by how you make a customer feel each and every time they are doing business with you.